Hey guys, what it do? It's your boy Supreme Uchiha the God. I know it's been a while, it's been a minute, but I'm back. I wanted to talk about Urek Mazino and just, you know, if you haven't read the webtoon, the Mazino's webtoon. Well, spoilers alert, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, it's your boy Supreme Uchiha. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. So we're talking about Urek Mazino here, and he is just a top tier character. I really liked him in the original webtoon of Tower of God, but I felt like, you know, there was that whole thing like, how did he get scratched? And now obviously by Bam, and most of us think it's kind of a plot hole at this point, right? Because in his own story, in his own webtoon, he's actually even way more broken than we ever thought he was. So we know about Pandemonium and how absolutely insanely powerful Pandemonium is supposed to be, right? Supposed to be the strongest in the tower, and the only reason he's ranked lower at the moment is because he's literally not active, right? That's the only reason, or they're not active. And we find out more about Pandemonium, and basically Pandemonium was built from the god of the dark, or the darkness, and basically ended up killing a lot of the lights and turning them into like this crystal power balls or whatever. And there hasn't been the light like in that sense for a very long time until Urek Mazino, and he was born to be the light, the hope of wherever outside is. He is a light there, he is a beam, and the strongest. This is quite important, and he is always looking for Pandemonium, and it seems like to stop, defeat, or kill Pandemonium. So if he's on a mission and he's been going from tower to tower, several towers, because he talks about different towers and all these different things, as if he's been following Pandemonium for quite a significant amount of time. Not only is he so much older than we think, he's also way more important to the story. Whatever it is, the universe, the kind of Morum style universe that SIU is trying to build, he's far more pivotal, relevant, and important to it than we may have even imagined. And we already thought he was super important, being, you know, being irregular, right? And he comes into the tower and he's kind of let in reluctantly, only because there's really no choice. The tower cannot disallow somebody from entering once they found a way there, and so he enters, but they will not let him out either. And the reason why is because his powers are too great. In fact, his powers are so great that even Hidan, right, is literally afraid to have him enter the tower. He literally looks at him and says, I cannot allow you in the tower. And then he changes his mind. I think, remember, Pandemonium allegedly was in the tower. I think he might have realized there, like, this person might be able to stop Pandemonium, but he couldn't stop him from entering. Maybe because Urek could have killed him right there and then. There's so many things we do not know about Hidan, but at that moment there was that hesitation, and normally he's not supposed to hesitate like that, I don't think. So it's quite interesting. And just the fact that Urek Mazino's after Pandemonium has been chasing him all this time, and he has no fear of that whatsoever. Also, he was unafraid to fight two family heads at the same time, like literally just didn't give a shit. I think just shows you that he hasn't really been trying that much even in the tower. I don't think he's ever unleashed his full powers, because he said he has powers from outside that he's avoiding using. So a lot of his fights in the tower he's using Sensu, but he doesn't have to use Sensu, unlike everybody in the tower who are restricted to Sensu, and Bam is blessed by Sensu. Urek Mazino doesn't give a shit about Sensu because he's weaker with Sensu than he is without Sensu. His own power is far superior to Sensu, which is quite interesting. And I'm sure he's gotten even stronger going up the tower, and I'm sure he's limited and restricted himself quite significantly because the tower has its own rules, and you know, by some degree he must bend to it. But simultaneously he can just call upon powers far beyond the tower, literally from outside the tower, because he's from the outside world. And we know a lot of people go into the tower from the outside world to gain glory, to gain strength, to gain all of these things, because maybe in the outside the tower they were nothing, they weren't very important, they weren't very prominent. On the other hand, Urek Mazino was apparently the most important shit out there. Before he came into the tower, he was the bee's knees. He was number one. He was already seen as a god out there, you know what I'm saying? So he might be a god out there, and he stepped into the tower to stop another god in Pandemonium. So to him, the tower is an annoyance. It's not even something he cares that much about. He wants to leave the tower, fight Pandemonium, get rid of the darkness, whatever that means, or at least free the other lights or something, or prevent Pandemonium from doing whatever Pandemonium is trying to do. And then that's it. That's all he gives a shit about. His whole life, he was born and raised and created and fabricated whatever and molded to be like this. Like he, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, he's not afraid of nothing. And we see this. It's quite interesting here. And obviously he sees Bam as somebody with potential maybe to slay gods or something, and maybe, I don't really know, man. I listen, but I just think Urek Mazino just seems so cool to me right now, man. I'm just like, wow, like he just blew my mind in his story. Like I'm reading it, you know, and I mean, we talk about how far Bam's ceiling can go. Urek Mazino don't even have a ceiling, brother. Like he don't know what a ceiling is, you know what I'm saying? And I think there's a complacency to him. Like to him, nothing in the tower seems to really interest him. He even promised to completely stay out of the 10 families' business for whatever reason. And it's just quite interesting, because even Pandemonium met Jihad. Did Pandemonium, who we discovered did what he did, and for some reason disappeared. We don't really understand what it is that they see. I need to make that video I told you about Jihad and what I think about Jihad, because he's actually my favorite character, second favorite character in Tower of God after Wang Nan. You know what I'm saying? It's Wang Nan, Jihad, and Urek Mazino. Those are my favorites right now, because they're just so intriguing, and the potential lore can just be world changing, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, what do you guys think? Because right now, reading Urek Mazino, I just feel like he is absolutely special, and I hope in Tower of God he gets to play a significant role. It's obviously Bam's story, and Bam is gonna be the litmus, and he's gonna be the being that does whatever he does to the tower. But maybe he will also be the being that frees Urek Mazino and lets Urek Mazino out of the tower, and you know, continuing his quest to find Pandemonium. And I think in Urek Mazino's own Tower of God story, there'll probably be a time skip in one of the seasons where he will be outside the tower finding, you know, or entering another tower. Sorry, he might even be a bridge, you know, because obviously SIU wanted to create more stories outside of just Tower of God within the Tower of God universe, even though some of the stories will take place outside the tower. But I think, you know, Urek Mazino might even be the character that's like a linchpin in between all of them, or the connecting tissue between all of them. He's the one that jumps from tower to tower, going from inside the tower to outside the tower, looking for Pandemonium, and he meets all of these characters that are playing a role throughout the world, while his roles might even supersede those roles. But it's more fun to watch those little ants become giants than a giant become a bigger giant, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's what I think. I'm loving the story of Urek Mazino right now. I'm super excited to see what happens. And yeah, let me know in the comment section below if you've been reading it. Have you not been reading it? If you are, what do you think? If not, what are you doing? It's your boy Supreme Cheated God. I've paid for like a few, you know, those extra, you know, chapters ahead of the chapters, you know what I'm saying? Because I couldn't be waiting, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm out. Subscribe.